Always just a little bit of a delay there for Instagram. Welcome to the Idaho Sheriff live stream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. This is a special edition. I think we do have an addiction.
I thought you said eviction. Special eviction.
Addiction. Special edition of the broadcast as we count down to Election Day. I'm your co-host. I'm here to produce stuff. My name is Donna Wilson. We're going to discuss all things liberty without compromise and your latest news and information leading up to the election day. Take a moment right now, as this is a last-minute broadcast, to share that to your profile so that more of your friends and family can join us tonight. Be sure to drop your comments in that comment section. I can share them up on the screen. I don't know how many questions we'll get to, but we can see. If you're listening back on our podcast, thank you so much. Anybody can listen and subscribe to that podcast on whichever platform you get your shows. And you should be sure to do that because the Liberty Without Compromise podcast will continue on. It will continue on past the election. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's The Idaho Sheriff. And like and follow that Facebook page. Now here's the only candidate in Kootenai County endorsed by Sheriff Richard Mack, retired Brigadier General Blaine Holt, former heavyweight champ David Nino Rodriguez, and backed by both current and retired law enforcement from all over the West Coast and right here in Kootenai County. And he only gets made fun of a little bit.
Just a little.
It's Dan Wilson.
Hey, folks. 8 days is all we have left in this historic race for sheriff in Kootenai County.
I need to show my countdown clock to the elections.
While you're showing that,
you keep going.
I said since we began this race that there was not going to ever be another race like the one that is being waged right now.
And you were not wrong.
I mean, who challenges an existing Republican incumbent sheriff?
Probably nobody but you.
Me, yeah.
Countdown days to the election, 7 days, 12 hours, 17 minutes, and 57 seconds.
So 7.5 days.
And while that page on the website is up, I do want you to know, as you are talking, making those connections with people here, as we have just that handful of days left to the election, they can go to the homepage of the website, click on the big thing on the homepage that says Quick Facts, and they're gonna see that election clock, video from Dan as to why he is uniquely and expertly qualified to hold the office of the sheriff here in Kootenai County, and then quick links to all the other important things that can help them in their decision to cast that vote.
Now I have a question for you.
Yes.
You have been answering this question on behalf of the campaign in social media quite a bit. We have been in this race for how long? It's
been over 10 months.
10 months. I mean, officially 10 months. We filed a year ago, so it's been a year that we've been officially, I guess, legally on the campaign trail. But you receive these questions all the time.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do besides complain? You don't ever talk about any of your policies. You just all you do is sling mud at Bob. So how have you been answering to these people that all of a sudden pop on social media because it's real easy to do? What has your standard response been as of late?
Yeah, it comes up. So the standard response is we have the most substantive campaign that Kootenai County has ever seen. And prove me wrong on that
prove
one.
us wrong.
There is a built-in search engine function on the website. We are page number 1 in Google if you look up Kootenai County Sheriff. Not to mention, if you remember the guy's name, if you remember the Idaho Sheriff, if you remember Dan Wilson. Google any of those search strings. Google sheriff candidates, Kootenai County, Dan Wilson, number one. Mm-hmm. There, we have done over 30 plus weeks. I mean, it's and counting of live stream broadcasts where we have answered questions. Have we put some people in timeouts occasionally when questions are inappropriate? Yes, we have.
Yeah.
But Dan has been extremely transparent. He's had in-person town halls all across the county. There has been no lack of ability to understand what his plans, policies, stances are, the conservative values that he holds. He's been on both local and national level broadcasts, podcasts, and interviews. So to argue at this point, 10 plus months into this, that you have no idea what this guy stands for and all he does is complain about Bob Norris, it's just...
How many thousands of
true.
views are we getting a week now? Thousands of views.
Thousands of views on our website. So that is something.
But according to the bats,
yes,
that special group of bats that, complain and want to do the little Facebook smear groups, you are a joke. You have really missed the mark when it comes to marketing, and it's all going to be your fault.
You actually are. You are saying I am a joke. Yes, that has been said, that I am reading it. My instincts are completely off. But one thing we do have the benefit of that other people cannot see, and I want those of you who have been supporting Dan from the onset or wherever you've joined us along in this journey, we have the benefits of seeing those statistics and analytics on the back end that other people don't get to see.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that those numbers for this size county are extremely encouraging when you say we built a platform and a media distribution channel from nothing into what it is today. And Dan is absolutely correct that as we're ramping up to Election Day, we have had thousands of unique visitors to our website. Again, something that was built from scratch, created from nothing.
Yeah.
1 year ago, less than a year ago.
Well, people are drawn to the message of liberty without compromise. There have been so many events all around the county. Even in this past week, we were out at one of the trunk or treats. They don't call it trick or treat anymore. It's trunk or treat. Mm-hmm. How many people, even in the waning light, came up and said, "You're Dan Wilson. I and my family voted for you. I've told all my friends we voted for you." We've been messaged all week long. Morning, middle of the day, night, wake up in the morning. It's posted on social media. We have emails. We have personal texts. We have personal messages from people that say, "We have supported you. We have voted for you and all of our entire family." Talking about it in line, where people are standing in line and they are indicating that Bob Norris is not the guy. I love the one where the lady said that in 80 years, she has never not voted for a Republican, and I'm going to be the very first.
Yeah.
She's not voting down the line, which kind of, we're going to talk about this in a second about Brent Reagan, the chairman of the KCRCC, being a little testy.
As we count down to Election Day, we get to share some of the juicy gossip that's going around.
Well, I mean, things are ratcheting up and everybody's getting all their panties in a twist, but look, I'm not tired yet.
Oh, wait, you got somebody today that says your opinion doesn't count because your nails are too clean.
Because I keep them trimmed. Yeah. Well, at least I'm not like Bruce Matari and I don't go in and get pedicures. We have constituents that people that we've talked to that say they have seen them getting pedicures and manicures. So, I mean, oops. Okay. We are still in the middle. I'm going to segue into something more substantive. We are still right now in the middle of early voting and absentee ballot voting. So if you have an absentee ballot, my advice is drop it off directly at the elections office. I don't know if you saw this, but today a election box for absentee ballots in the state of Washington, where I hail from. That's where I originally came from before I came 25 miles to the east into Kootenai County. Well, one of those ballot boxes near Vancouver was set on fire. And I think they said at least 1,000 ballots they anticipate were gone. Early voting is taking place right now as well. I know that it has been a huge traffic jam down at the elections office there.
Ton of people voting early. You have to go. And there have been questions about that too, because most of us aren't election experts. We're out living our lives, paying our bills and all those sorts of things. But for this early voting, you do have to do it down at the elections office. And there's one location.
Typical polling location. You have to go down to the elections office. I believe that ends on Friday. And then Monday, Tuesday, it's right back to, well, I shouldn't say Monday. It'd be only absentee ballots. But Tuesday, from my understanding, is, that's the last day in person.
That's the day.
Well, I know that for a fact. We're not California. We're not Pennsylvania. We're not Arizona. We actually cut off our voting at the allotted time here in Idaho.
Okay, some reports from those joining us on Instagram. Austin just is saying, "Hey, hello, Dan. Hope all is well." Amanda on Instagram says, "He got my vote today."
Thank you, Amanda.
And Lisa on Instagram says, can't wait for election day. And then another good note there from one of our viewers on Instagram is that the line is moving quick, though. So that's a good message to not be, don't let that discourage you if you need to go in and vote early there at the elections office.
Yeah, those are always great to hear. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you to the Idaho Sheriff Dan Wilson support team. Many of you are just coming in and volunteering. You're taking rack cards and you're going and giving them out to your friends. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for those who have hosted town halls for us and dinners and helped us wave signs. They've helped us do the heavy lifting. They've helped us at the fair. They've hosted events for us. They've donated. Thank you so much. Now we are going to have a watch party on election night, which is November 5, where I think we're going to start at 7 p.m. down in Post Falls at the Sawmill Grill. We're so grateful to be with those fine folks down there. We're going to be watching the polls, and we're coming to plan on celebrating a victory for that evening. So
there is a link on the website, theidahosheriff.com, under events, and more information about that election night watch party at Sawmill Grill, the time, location, and then also please RSVP so that we can get a head count and know what we're expecting. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be
great food,
drinks available. We are going to show up and be very generous with the owners and staff there at the Sawmill, which has become our cheers. And so it could not be a more perfectly appropriate location to have that party.
Now, Saturday the 2nd, we have another exciting, our last real big rally event. Tell us about it.
We are going to have a meet and greet at Patriot Hangout in Coeur d'Alene there with Mike Marcourt at his shop. So you can come meet Dan, do exchange greetings, buy some stuff at Mike's shop, and then also you may have seen around town the Trump train that happens every Saturday. I believe it starts at noon. So we are doing that. It's kind of like a progressive dinner, but progressive meet and greet where we're starting at Patriot Hangout 10 a.m. this coming Saturday. Going to hang out for a bit, and then we're going to join in on that Trump train at noon. So we've
been invited to be a guest.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And there's even the Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff flags, custom flags.
You know, there have been rumors floating around, and I love every time I hear a rumor that gets back to me because it causes me to laugh.
Okay.
So today I received a call.
I can't wait to hear what
from somebody locally who says, "Hey, I hear a rumor that your undersheriff is Lieutenant Eric Reed from Spirit Lake PD."
Absolutely, 100%.
Whenever you hear Bob say those words, what is he doing? Lying. He's not telling the truth. No. Now, Eric would be an outstanding undersheriff. You talk about a man who came from Los Angeles PD, lieutenant down there at D3. This guy has seen and done it all. He is currently second in command up at Spirit Lake PD. He would be an outstanding choice, but he is not my undersheriff. Yeah. My undersheriff, who was chosen way in the beginning, I want to say January, February, is local to Kootenai County, has spent over 20 years here in law enforcement, is still current county law enforcement. And my transition team and I, to include the undersheriff, have plans to hit the ground running. We have our first 90 days ready to go and execute and figure out what we got to do to right the ship at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. We're going to go in and fix the 911 problem in 90 days. That is absolutely a guarantee. 90 days to fix the 911 operator retention issues. We're also going to make our background checks a lot faster than 6 months. We're losing candidates right now because other agencies can do backgrounds far quicker. So a businessman has to go in there, has to revamp things. We're going to do that. We're going to audit the sheriff's office top to bottom, including inventory, to find out where all the money's been going, where we're wasting the money, what kind of strings are attached to grants, and where we can cut so that we don't have to start next year's budget at $50 million and go up from there. I think we need to take a step back. That is the goal. I know that our budgets for the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office have gone up substantially since Bob Norris took over, 33%. And I just say that it's time that we go in there and fiscally figure out what's going on so that we can report back to the taxpayers that we are being extremely judicious with all of our funds. And I'm also going to start a deputy reserve program, and that's going to help us with numbers. That's going to be part of my first 6 months as we're rolling out. Day one, we're going to roll the policies.
Look at you talking about what you're going to do.
Yeah, I know.
You're not complaining about it. So for those of you just joining us, this is a special broadcast as we're doing a countdown to Election Day, and we're going to do our best to share with you the latest news and information each day between now and the election.
We may not do it every single day, but
we're going to do
try.
our best. We're going to do our best. I know you're getting ready. You're chomping at the bit for.
Well, I don't think we're going to do a full hour. These are more just touch base.
We're moving fast. Right along through.
Yeah.
So we may not be getting to questions, especially if they're ones we've answered 1,000 times.
Yeah. So one of the things that I find amusing is how much the KCRCC is getting their panties in a twist, and more specifically, dear Chairman Brent Reagan. And so Brent right now, he's been used to for the past several years being kind of the big dog on the block. He's the one that resides over the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee. He's had a couple spats with guys like Dan Gookin. He's had spats with others, but Brent is one of those guys that he's kind of an intellectual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was going to see if I could.
I used to think he was a nice guy until I met him.
Oh.
And the very first time I met him, I had already entered the race. It was known that I was running. At no time did he ever seek me out nor, acknowledge me publicly, which, okay, that it goes both ways. But what was telling, the very first time I spoke at the Pachyderms, Brent walks in, he walks right past my table, sits at a table adjacent to where I was, didn't even acknowledge that I was there. I purposely got up from my seat, walked over to him, shook his hand, and he couldn't really be bothered to even carry on a conversation.
Yeah.
And then, when we went into our vetting committee to that final interview, as we were getting ready to walk in to meet the vetting committee and answer their final questions, who gets up and leaves the room?
Yeah,
Brent Reagan. So, my experience
not
with
a real
Brent
good
has
feeling of camaraderie there.
He doesn't seem to be a very genuinely nice guy, but maybe we're just reading him wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing in that
right
photo
now,
here, but ladies and gentlemen,
Brent's getting a little worked up. If we go to slide 3, now look, we know that campaigns are fluid and nobody ever does something right 100% of the time because you're dealing with part-time staff and volunteers and supporters. But Brent is I think he's starting to get a little cranky. So yesterday, he sent out this tweet to me, and we're going to get to that in a second, but we're going to talk about the tweet that he put out today. And he says, there's a picture for those of you that are watching. There's a picture of mailboxes. There's like 5 mailboxes on a stand. And dear Chairman Brent Reagan says, fun fact, it's unlawful to attach promotional material to private property without the owner's permission. Idaho Code 187029. So don't do it unless you are Save NIC, because apparently the laws don't apply to them. Now, my question is, who cares, Brent? I mean, seriously, are you like the hall monitor now? Or are you just upset that, you spent $80,000 or $90,000 for your little flyer that you put out, all your big donors that donate to the KCRCC, which is a small handful. The donors that are small folks don't really give as much as your big donors do. And I know that kind of upsets you, but I mean, seriously, you're acting like a little hall monitor. Who cares? I mean, you guys run around with all of your packets and put them on everybody's doorsteps. And, technically, is that against the law? No, but maybe a lot of people don't like crap put on their doorstep either. But it's election time. It's no different than when I get junk mail in my mailbox. It's an annoyance. But so what? Why are you so upset about it?
And the pest control guy does it too.
I mean, Good God, your righteous indignation kills me, Brent. So yesterday, on Sunday, because that's the day of rest, Brent puts out a tweet mentioning me in it.
Wait, but I mean, you're finally getting some recognition.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
from
well,
Mr.
it's
Reagan.
a week out. And again, he's getting a little testy.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of, I think, done fighting with Dan for a while.
He's acknowledging that you exist.
Well, so we're going to talk about this tweet because I think it will shed some light as to why he's so testy. So he says, here's a question for Dan Wilson, wannabe sheriff. So the chairman of the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee says that I'm a wannabe sheriff. If someone helps promote a counterfeit document that was created for the purpose of defrauding voters with respect to the recommendations of the official Republican Party, are they guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud? So what he's talking about is, if you look over to the right, you're going to see the original mailer that goes out to every mailbox holder in the county. And it has all the recommended candidates that the Republican Central Committee has vetted. And in the one on the right, you'll see the original form, and it says, for example, under County Sheriff Robert Bob Norris. Now, somebody online, and I've never met this individual, even if I had, I don't care, but the point is that somebody took that original mailer and they put a little edit to it. They crossed out Bob Norris. They stuck my name in it and they circled it and they said, hey, I voted early. And I responded when I received that tweet where I was named. I said, I'm Dan Wilson and I approve this message.
Absolutely. 100%.
There you go. So everybody knows it's tongue in cheek. Who cares? But Brent, because he's so absolutely important.
What part of the message do you approve? Just the Dan Wilson
The Dan
part?
Wilson,
Or
yeah.
what about all the other recommended candidates?
No, I'm not going to recommend any candidate on that list whatsoever. There's only one person on that entire list that I feel has ever stood with me and given me any kind of respect. So from my position, there's only one person on there that I would support. But anyway, so Brent is so upset because this has happened over and over again. Teresa Roth, we talked about this last week. She took the formatted, flyer, and then she reformatted, took off all GOP, but it's still, everybody knows it's a parody. She did something similar. But Brent, you're so egotistical. You're such a fraud when it comes to free speech. You're supposed to be a Republican, but you're a whiny little baby because you are implying that somehow, because I happen to like one of my supporters who is supporting me, that somehow conspiracy to commit fraud. Well, I'm going to go to my next slide on that same page. And let's talk about Brent and his integrity. So I posted today and I asked, is the KCRCC guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud on the citizens of the Kootenai County when the KCRCC continued to support Sheriff Norris after he purposely used county property in apparent violation of Idaho Statute 74606 by allowing his Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 43 Deputy Sheriff's Association, PAC, to use the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office star to promote political candidates to include Sheriff Robert B. Norris himself and North Idaho, I said NIC. I meant to say North Idaho Republicans. My bad, I'm glad I just caught that. North Idaho Republican PC challengers in their May 2024 primary mailer. Sheriff Norris admits to this action in the 5/18/24 KCRCC YouTube video. Sheriff Norris's official statement as found here. KCRCC's failure to hold Norris accountable with this very unethical and perhaps illegal action is unacceptable and has seriously discredited the reputation of the KCRCC. And I just want to bring people's attention to that original mailer that went out in May. This, again, is one of those things, Brent, that I guess we just have to suck it up since, you don't want to police your own people. You're either incompetent when it comes to policing your own people or you're a damn hypocrite, and it doesn't apply when you are the beneficiary of it or the KCRCC. And that was something that Bob did when he stabbed those PCs from the KCRCC in the back They dumped a ton of money, that political action committee, the Deputy Sheriff's Association, when they fraudulently used the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office badge on their primary mailer that when it was sent out could have deceived many people thinking, who don't know much about politics, that the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office is recommending candidates. So, Brett, you need to spare me your whining session. And why don't you put your mouth, put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, when it comes to policing your own people, those that you are still endorsing, even though I believe, according to the statute, they violated a law, they being Bob and the FOP, when they used county property to promote a political candidate. But I know. Rules don't apply to you, Brent. Oops.
Oh.
Okay, off soapbox.
If you're just joining us, this is a special edition broadcast, a countdown to the election day.
I know.
My brain is.
That's close.
I don't know where it is. It's been a long day.
I want people to remember liberty without compromise. This is one of the themes that we have talked about, or I should say the theme we've talked about this entire time. Do not settle for anything less. Your political representatives, absolutely 100%, should be continually promoting liberty for every citizen in this county. And if they don't, you need to eject them and quit voting right down the ballot R, because there are many individuals that are on that list that are not truly liberty-minded individuals, and they don't necessarily deserve your vote. We need to get in a mindset of going back and doing our own homework. Everybody says, I'm so tired. I don't have time to vet. I don't have time to look into the candidates. That's plain laziness.
Sick of politics, sick of the arguing, the fighting, the infighting, sick of the commercials. I have heard so many times, I just can't wait for this to be over. And while I understand the sentiment, what it tells me is that the majority of us still have not suffered enough to realize that the bare minimum that you can do is to research those candidates, not put that burden on somebody else, like an organization that vets candidates and then says, here you go. And you have just handed them all of your power and authority and ability to logic and reason.
Like Brent Reagan.
You've gotten some criticism online when you've made the statement about not just voting down the line Republican, that you've got to look at what's going on between these candidates and look what's going on with the infighting in KCRCC and really the fracturing that's happening there. But the criticism has been, oh, look, a guy who's not a Republican saying don't vote Republican. Yeah. Do you have a quick answer to that? I mean,
well, I was a Republican until this year when I really firsthand experienced the corruption, my belief of the corruption of the Central Committee. I mean, there isn't a backbone in the leadership there. There are a few guys that stood to do the right thing, but I'm not going to go back into my story, but I realize that it absolutely is tribal locally. I thought that we just had problems at a national and state level, but no, it's local here too. They don't want truly conservative people.
I observed you being the most disheartened about that, because you truly did believe that and were so excited to officially be a part of this county and community, because that you really trusted the fact that they held the same values and that the local Republican Party here would share those values and that mindset, and that you would be welcome in that space. I mean, I don't think you considered for it to be any different. And so it was it's been an unveiling of something that it was extraordinarily different from what you anticipated in those local conservative circles.
That's what I've called it. It's tribal. And when you have tribal where people, it's no different than in law enforcement. If you have people in law enforcement that are only there because they're your friends, not because they bring value to the office, they are doing the hard work, then you have a corrupt system. So anyway, my belief on this is further substantiated in the doubling down support of Bob Norris. I mean, look at the facts. They wanted to vote, they being certain PCs, to not include Norris on this recent mailer. And they decided that it had to be from what I understand, a verbal vote. They didn't let it happen via secret ballot. And so nobody's going to stick their neck out, but I think 4, maybe 5 total did. But remember, this is the same Republican Central Committee that backs Bob Norris, who was named in a tort claim along with the county back in July. And in this tort claim, this claimant says, the plaintiff said that Norris said some extremely sexually aggressive things towards her and defamed her and harassed her. And many people of good reputation in this county were there that have confirmed what was said. So there is no dispute on it. Again, he hasn't gone to trial. It was merely a tort claim, but there was too many people there of good reputation where there should have been some question, right? Why should we, if Norris is this hot, maybe the best we do is let him swim on his own, rather than to double down. But no, they double down and they support him, even despite the fact that he took the color of his office, the authority of his office, and continued to berate and go after the woman and offering a $10,000 bounty to anybody that could refute what this woman had claimed against him. So bringing the county into even more conflict, more exposure, along with the sheriff shooting his mouth off. And then, of course, what happened last week? A lawsuit was finally filed. It's a huge lawsuit. And one of the claims is that the sheriff's office and the county are tied together because of the use of the official letterhead and social media to defame and to berate and to harass this woman claimant. And what does Bob Norris do right after this lawsuit comes out where he's being accused of using county resources to bully a woman? He does it again. And this is one of the dumbest individuals I have ever seen sit in the office of the sheriff. Where's Stan Mortensen? Are you telling him, hey, Bob, you need to knock it off? What about the other internal attorneys? I mean, who is keeping Bob Norris accountable? But this is what the KCRCC has now, adopted as their poster boy.
And last week on our live broadcast, we did a more expanded segment on this topic. I posted that link in the comment section, which displays on Facebook and YouTube. So for those of you joining us on Instagram, you can find that on our website at theidahosheriff.com, and it explores the further into that discussion, kind of the ins and outs of the lawsuit, what we've learned about it, and the effect that will have on Bob Norris
and the taxpayers.
And you, the taxpayer, us.
So I've often said, and recently just did a video where I have argued that Bob Norris claims that he fled the oppression of California 30 years down in Los Angeles to wind his way up here in Kootenai County. And he was so concerned about the culture that he had to run for sheriff. And, he cons a lot of people into thinking that he's constitutional. I mean, that's a buzzword. You can call yourself whatever. Like when you wear a jersey for your favorite ball team, and you kind of pretend you live vicariously through them. Kind of similar. Yeah, he does that with the Constitution. But I would contend that he has left California and brought that culture and that corruption right back up to Kootenai County. And one of the things that we know that he has done is, while he claims one of his 3 platforms for, his sheriff race is responsible growth. So Kootenai County voters, if this is true and he's for responsible growth, why his sheriff is getting that deep into the weeds on that subject, I don't know, has something to do with his county commissioner, Special Deputy Bruce Matari. But we know that he gets a lot of money. Over $10,000 of his funds have come from big developers, billionaires, and real estate folks from down out of California and Nevada, and cannabis. So if Prop 1 passes, which, look, I'm not currently for Prop 1. I don't like ranked choice voting, but I do agree.
So Billy Painter had earlier, he's got some cigars for you. He's going to drop you a private message, but he did want to know your opinion on Prop 1. I didn't know if you want to address it, but go ahead.
I think my position on Prop 1 is right now, no. I think it's going to become way too confusing. The ranked choice voting, jungle ballots, etc., way too confusing, problematic wherever it's been. However, we have to do something different, especially in this state when it comes to the primaries. I have experienced this. I know firsthand. It's a mess. Now, can I articulate it exactly? No, not right now, because I'm still formulating my thoughts on it. But I'm a no on Prop 1 for now, because I'm not for ranked choice voting. But I do think we need to change part of our process in the primaries. Now, that being said, if Prop 1 passes, they've thrown a lot of money at this Prop 1. If it passes, how soon will cannabis be right here in Idaho in Kootenai County?
Yeah, this becomes a very
So
curious
pay very, very
question.
close attention,
Yes.
folks. If Prop 1 passes, and I don't know that Bob Norris has said anything that he is pro or for it, not that I've seen publicly.
Yeah. Yep.
But you realize that Bob Norris has received maximum donation from the cannabis industry in both the primary and the general election. If we go to slide number 2, you're going to see an Idaho Sunshine financial report on the candidates. And you have folks, and we're going to call the spotlight on a few people. So number 1, we have Jason and Shayna Vedati. I believe they are a married couple, huge into the cannabis business. We've already talked about this in earlier episodes this summer, but they both gave maximum donations of $1,000 each for the primary and $1,000 for the general election, $4,000 total. And the Vedatis also gave $1,000 to Leslie Duncan, so County Commissioner Leslie Duncan, and failed county commissioner candidate Sleepy Dale Gibney. So that's a lot of money. So we have just this year alone from the Vedatis, $6,000 given to local politicians. 4,000 of those was slated directly for Bob Norris. And then you have another big player. I think he owns Legion Cannabis out of California, Thomas McGlade, another $1,000. So Norris received $5,000 this year alone from cannabis industry folks. Does that sound like Kootenai County culture to you? Kootenai County values? I mean, I was over in Washington where, I experienced firsthand the dysfunction that comes from legalized marijuana. And again, my liberty-minded friends, I know there's going to be some things that we may disagree on. This is something that has taken me a while to even work out in my own mind. So I'm not saying that I'm perfect on this. But at this current time, I am not in favor of legalization. And I'm very curious as to why Bob Norris in a county sheriff race up here in Kootenai County is getting mega donations from the cannabis industry. And look, we have to call it out equally. Leslie Duncan, she received $1,000 from Jason Vedati as well, and Dale Gibney. So yeah, these are things that I want you to realize that when you are looking at Bob Norris, and some of you are still on the fence, or maybe some of you have already made your minds up, you're still going to vote for Bob. Bob's a nice guy. He's pro-Constitution.
I heard it. I just saw it today. Bob Norris came and had breakfast with him at the senior center in Spirit Lake. He's a real nice guy. I voted for Bob.
Well, you do know that up there in Spirit Lake, though, he has screwed you people up there, right? This is absolutely undisputed. He has failed, refused to give the cross-deputization cards back to the Spirit Lake PD. He sabotaged the homicide investigation last year. There's a lot of bad things that have happened, and you can talk directly to the chief up there. I'm certain that he will be more than happy to answer questions you may ask. But yeah, we hear Bob's a nice guy, but nice guys don't get jobs done. They just don't. And Bob Norris is bringing that culture, that messed up culture that so many of you, my friends, have moved away from. And you say you want Idaho values. And if you revote this guy back in, I get it why he got voted in 2020. I get it. Times were tough, COVID, people thought that, compared to the former Kootenai County sheriff that had been here his entire life versus, this high-speed dude. Well, they're not bringing high-speed tactics alone to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. You have to understand that they're also bringing this corrupt culture of the pay-to-play, the quid pro quo, and things like cannabis right up here. You follow the damn money.
Yeah, I was going to say people make predictions about sports teams and all kinds of things. So it just does lead you to start the clues start to lead you to making some of those predictions. If things go in this direction with Prop 1, what these donations are coming from here, these are breadcrumbs.
There's no reason for cannabis to be giving money to any of these candidates. There just isn't. And I believe that Bob Norris is playing the people. He's a true deep stater. I believe in my heart of hearts that Bob Norris is a deep stater. If you look at his policies and his lack of understanding of the Constitution, go to the KCRCC survey, listen to his extremely deficient answers, you'll find out the guy does not really truly understand. He may have called himself a Republican his entire life, but he's never really understood it or been able to articulate what that means and why it's important that we have a constitutional republic and a Bill of Rights. He just doesn't understand that. Now, lastly, before we close,
I was going to say, Mike Marquardt just jumped on. He's like, what, Tuesday too?
I know.
So for those of you just joining us, because it is happening all throughout our,
actually Monday,
what was
not
supposed
Tuesday.
to be, I don't even know what day it is. Maybe I don't even know what he was asking about Tuesday. I'm the confused one. But this is a special countdown to Election Day broadcast. We're attempting to stick to about a half hour so as not to exhaust. But we do have one more thing that we want to highlight before we sign off tonight.
I want to talk about the topic that I've talked about almost from the very beginning, and that is the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit.
The plot thickens.
Look, I am so disgusted by local media here that has done nothing to investigate all of the crap surrounding the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit. We're not going to get into that tonight, but here's something. That helicopter has been grounded since September 12th. So we're going on 6 weeks. And nobody has seen it fly. We have it on good authority that it is grounded. My question is it due to the insurance? Now, those of you that have listened and followed this,
maybe they're installing a hoist.
if we go right, go to slide number 4, the very bottom.
I'm on it. Done.
I sent a letter to Chairman Duncan, Board of County Commissioner, who happens to be Region 1 ICRIMP trustee. And that's the Idaho Consolidated Risk Management Pool, so self-insured. And I had asked her earlier, hey, this MOU that we have, are you guys aware of the current craft, and can we come out and inspect the ICRIMP documents, because we've been told that ICRIMP is covering the helicopter. So Duncan responded back in August. She says, Mr. Wilson, thank you for reaching out. ICRIMP on behalf of the county does not cover Able 1. Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit has their own policy, as they are merely a contractor for Kootenai County. ICRIMP has not completed any inspections, and there is no cost to the county, since the county has no policy covering the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit. Let me know if you still desire a meeting or have further questions. Now, back in September, the Kootenai Journal ran a fluff piece on the helicopter program. In fact, I think the challenge was every time that I mentioned it, a donation was going to be made to the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit, right?
Mention what? The journal?
I think mention the helicopter. There's some kind of a challenge. You remember that?
No, it's the name.
Yeah. So in their report, they stated that the MOU requires nonprofit to carry a minimum of $2 million in general liability insurance, and the county's insurance policy through the Idaho County Risk Management Program also carries the same minimum coverage. Since this is the first air support program in Idaho, ICRIMP actually had to create a new coverage section for aviation to meet the county's insurance needs. This is such a pioneering program. No one has ever done it, stated Ellis, referring to Lieutenant Mark Ellis, who oversees the air program for the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and is also the registered agent and the CFO of the private corporation, supposed 501c3, though we've never seen any validation of that. So he oversees his own contract, so to speak. Ellis says that Idaho can be a little bit slower in a lot of stuff, so this was a learning thing for the state of Idaho. When asked, county administrative officials verified its insurance policy specifically covers their air support operations, and the nonprofit provided Kootenai Journal a copy of its insurance summary showing coverage through June 2025. So I reached back out to Leslie Duncan again, and I just said, hey, this is in contradiction of what you've stated. I sent a request to the county through the Board of County Commissioners, the clerk, and the sheriff's office. Not one of them provided me an actual certificate of liability or a policy per the memo of understanding, the contract that was signed with this nonprofit. And I've contended for many, many months that there is no adequate insurance coverage on this helicopter. So my understanding from my deputies on the inside is the rumor is this bird is grounded until after the election because they know that they've been flying it without the proper insurance coverage. Lieutenant Mark Ellis never provided me a document showing the current policy and the additional insured names. And in fact, what they did send to me about a week later was nothing more than an invoice. I've been in business a long time. I read contract certificates all the time. It definitely was not an insurance policy. In fact, it had a place to put your Visa card in the bottom if you want to make a premium.
So they ground the thing now, and they're banking on you guys having short-term memory. Yep. We'll ground this thing now. Election day comes and goes. Bob reigns supreme, and the theory is they're going to take that thing back to flight because you will have forgotten all about it and no more Mr. Dan Wilson being a bird in their craw.
So I sent out an email today to Commissioner Duncan. I said, revisiting your response from August 4, according to the Kootenai Journal, they report that, and then I restated what I said earlier. At the surface, it appears that the Kootenai Journal contradicts your statements below. Can you please confirm if ICREMP is or is not involved in covering Kootenai Regional Air Support or any operations of the Able 1 helicopter? Anyway, her response: I am confident that my previous statement is accurate. I cannot confirm Kootenai Journal source information. ICREMP is not involved in any coverage for Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit Able 1 on behalf of Kootenai County. Okay, again, why does this matter? It matters because you have a guy sitting at the head of the table, Bob Norris, that has no clue what he's doing. And he's never produced a resume, yet he claims that he ran contract cities that were the same size as Kootenai County. And yet by his policies that we've observed over and over again, or his lack thereof, and the fact that the sheriff's office is in total disarray, Kootenai County cannot afford another 4 years with a guy that will continually put the county at risk, not only in frivolous lawsuits, where he doubles down and continues to braid and badger and to harass a citizen, where he can't even figure out. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to find out if the county has insurance. If a helicopter crashes, which it almost did back in August when somebody shined a laser on the pilot who was wearing night vision goggles, there was no backup pilot. It almost crashed.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. That's going to cost the county a ton of money. And no matter what they say, he is incompetent at best at running these programs. So transition team
he's proving incompetence over the 4 years of his term, yet they finger point at you. Yeah. Yet Wilson, this guy with no experience, he can't possibly run all this. He wouldn't know how to do this job whatsoever, except you have a guy in front of you who's proven in 4 years that he's not, that the department's in a shambles. And then an example, a glaring example like this one, where they're grounding a helicopter because Wilson's bringing it to the attention of, what are we doing? Norris
has lied about standing between the federal government and firearms. I've already debunked this. I've proven not only through the police reports or the deputies' incident reports, but also body cam footage. So he lies about that. He lies about is there or is there not illegal invasion taking place here. He vacillates all over that. He didn't even know what ICE 287G program was, even though he pretended like he did at the end of August. We were able to provide receipts later on that they asked about the program, didn't even know what it was until after that incident in August. However, Dan Wilson has been screaming, why are you not a part, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, of the 287G program since the beginning? So this guy is more interested in his coffee with your sheriff events and running around. He went to that Innocent project or the Innocent program the other night, and a body cam, he's now videoing any interaction he has with the public because he's so paranoid that he's going to get caught saying something that's going to damage him. He was
taking video of BC preacher Quincy Franklin just down on Public Corner where
today
we had some people sign waving today.
Yeah, today.
Now, I cut you off because what we were talking about the failings of Bob Norris and his administration at Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Where I cut you off was you started to talk about your plan moving forward and what you were going to do in that first 90 days. I think that's a great way to wrap this up.
Yeah. Well, my undersheriff and transition team, so that includes the undersheriff, lots and lots and lots, decades combined experience in law enforcement. And we are going to hit the ground running. We have a lot to do in the very first 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, but we are going to accomplish great things. And I look forward to being your next sheriff of Kootenai County. If you think that troubling times are upon us and that Kootenai County needs leadership, I am your man. I am the one that will stand in the gap, unlike Bob, who says he can make bold moves because the people are behind him. I say, I'll be bold and I'll make bold moves regardless of whether or not any of you stand behind me. So that's about all I can say tonight.
All right. This has been a special broadcast countdown to Election Day here on the Idaho Sheriff live stream with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. We will, for certain, if not tomorrow, we will be here this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. The best place to watch archive broadcasts is on our YouTube channel. That's at the Idaho Sheriff. Go to YouTube to listen and subscribe there. And for the Idaho Sheriff podcast, listen and subscribe wherever you get those shows. Podcast listeners watch live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Subscribe on all of our channels. The Liberty Without Compromise broadcasts and podcasts will continue. Learn more about Dan Wilson, his platform, policies, viewpoints, and endorsements right there from the home page at theidahosheriff.com. Just click on the quick links photo right on the home page.
Get out and vote. Get all your friends, anybody you can think of, to vote for Dan Wilson. It's okay. It's okay to vote for an independent that is way more conservative than most Republicans and equally so true to the rights that I will protect everybody who has a completely opposite worldview. I will protect all of their rights to life, liberty, and property because I believe in the fidelity of the United States Constitution. We're almost out of signs, 600 yard signs. We have very few left. I sure thank you all for your support. Remember, stay strong and courageous. Don't give up. We're close. Stay frosty. God bless you all. We'll see you real soon. Good night.
Thanks for joining us on Instagram. Koi Pond Kid, Uncle Bear Whirly, Built Blue Collar says you're the man for the job, Dan Wilson. Thank you all. Talk to you soon.